Long-term storage of drinking water. How much do you really need? How long can you really store it? How do you store it? And what do you do if it goes bad? Hello, my name is Les, and I want to welcome you to the Cheffprepper channel, where we make videos that are worth your time. There are many reasons that you need and are going to need water, but in today's video, our focus is going to be on drinking water. Buying bottled water off the shelf, putting it into storage is a good start, but you really need to have a water storage plan. To have a good water storage plan, there's a few questions that you got to ask and answer for yourself and your family's situation. Number one, how long do you anticipate that you're going to need to depend upon the water that you have in storage? Do you think it's going to be like 2 weeks or 2 years? So if you think it's going to be 2 years or maybe even longer, you may be thinking, there's no way I can store that much water. I don't have the space. You're probably right. You probably don't have the space for all that water for a 2 or 3 year time period. It becomes very, very important to have a water treatment or purification method on hand so that when we do run out of water and get more water, we can make safe drinking water. One of the easiest ways to do that is with a filter. I put a link down in the description box below to a easy to use personal size water filter from the sponsor of today's video, Membrane Solutions. So how much water do you need to store? FEMA recommends 1 gallon per day per person. The CDC, 1 gallon per day per person. The American Red Cross, 1 gallon per day per person. You should be able to survive with a gallon of water per day per person. You will be better served to put at least 2 gallons per day per person to thrive rather than just survive. When the time comes that you have to depend upon this water, and it will come, you'll be very glad that you got some water left at the end of the day rather than some day left at the end of the water. So how much water do you need to store? 2 gallons per day per person and as many days as you can put into storage. And if you can't put as much into storage as you think you're going to need, you need to have on hand 2 or 3 different ways to treat or sterilize or purify more water. How do we store our water long term? Getting bottled water off the shelf and putting it on your shelf in storage is a good start, but I don't suggest that you make bottled water a large part of your storage water. Bottled water in the single service containers like this one, after about a year, maybe up to 2 years, those bottles are going to start deteriorating. Some of them may leak, and if they do, you'll just have an empty bottle, but the plastic can start leaching into your water, which is not good. So if you do have bottled water in storage for quite a long time, how do you know if it's still good? Some signs that you might need to replace your bottled water: it tastes bad, or it tastes like plastic, or it smells bad. The water is cloudy. Now, I don't have examples of those to show you because we don't keep our bottled water very long. You can also buy water in cans like these. But for most people who are going to put a fairly good amount of water into long-term storage, you're probably going to use larger containers, and your source of water will probably be right out of your own water faucet. But some of you may collect rainwater, and some of you may get water from some other source. When that water goes into these containers, It needs to be safe to drink at that time. And of course, any container that you're going to use needs to be food grade material. There are numerous water storage containers available, all different kinds of sizes, colors, shapes. Stack them. Some of them you can't stack them. So we're not going to get into particular water storage containers in this video. So no matter what size, style, color of container that you're going to put your water in, there are some common across the board procedures to follow and things to do. Number one, make absolutely certain that the water that you're putting into storage in these containers is water that you would drink at that moment just before you put it into the container. Number two, that the containers are cleaned and sterilized. Number three, make sure you store them off the floor or off the ground. Number four, store them in as dark and cool a place as you can. Number five, don't store your water in direct sunlight. Number six, don't store your water around chemicals, gasoline, fuels, those kinds of things. Number seven, use some type of a water preserver. If you look at the ingredients on this, it'll be very similar to some of those water purification tablets. The water preservers use or have some type of a stabilized form of chlorine. And the last thing would be, once you got your water in storage, that on a regular basis, like every 6 months, you check the water out. Make sure it's not leaking, that there's no damage done to any of the containers, that things don't smell really bad around where your water is at, that you don't have a bunch of empty containers. Just keep an eye on it at least every 6 months. If some of it you want to test or taste, go ahead. If you determine something's wrong with it, empty the container, sanitize it, start all over. How long can you store water? Water never expires. The water in the plastic bottles probably shouldn't be kept more than 1 or 2 years at the most. You treat the water properly, you put it in a proper container, you store it properly, that water should keep indefinitely. But what do you do if your water does go bad? Or you think it's gone bad? Or you've had it in storage for a few years and you just want a little more reassurance? Well, if it's got something growing in it, it probably has gone bad. Filter it and boil it. If you think your water's gotten contaminated some way, you need to filter it. Here are 3 different types of water filters from the sponsor of today's video, Membrane Solutions. A personal water filter that you can also attach to a water bottle. Drink your water right out of the stream or right out of the water storage containers if you think it's gone bad. That's a gravity-fed water filter. Also has a UV light. And that one is a reverse osmosis filter. It does require electrical power, but it is a way to purify water. I put links to each of those 3 filters down in the description box if you'd like to make them a part of your overall water plan. Do you have a particular way that you treat and store water long term? Do you have a favorite type or kind of water container? If you do, and you don't mind sharing those things with us, then tell us what those are down in the comments. If storing water long term is important to you, and you'd like some more information on how to treat, sanitize, purify, or pasteurize water,